Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with trumpeter, arranger, and composer Vance Thompson on behalf of the Knoxville Jazz Orchestra. They just released their new 2020 CD, The Road Less Traveled. And he opened up about this and a lot more. The band started during a rehearsal in August of 1999 and has continued to go on for over 2 decades. It all began after he returned home to East Tennessee after a 4-year stint in Chicago, anxious to find a way to continue writing and playing in a pro-caliber big band. The band quickly became a laboratory for his writing and has led him down some quite fruitful paths. You will find out about this and a lot more, so please get to know him and dig this interview, my friends.
Okay, Vance, hey, thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I've really enjoyed listening to your album, The Road Less Traveled, so I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to knowing a little bit more about you and the band.
Well, thank you. I appreciate I appreciate your interest and appreciate your kind words about the music.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in to The Road Less Traveled. Talk to me a little bit about what the idea behind this was. It to kind of capture the essence of recent work, or what was kind of the vision for this project?
It started, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary as a band, and so I was trying to think of something that we might do to celebrate, and it occurred to me that we hadn't recorded as a band the last album we put out was 2012, and I think we actually recorded it the year before that, so it'd been quite a while since we'd recorded the band, and I created a lot of charts in the interim time that we'd never had opportunity to record. So that was really the driving force behind it, was how do we mark this moment and get some of the music that we've created over the years documented.
Let's get an idea of where you started. I know you came from Chicago, and in August of '99, you began the band. But give me an idea of your beginnings and how you got involved with jazz.
Well, I'm originally from East Tennessee. I grew up outside of Knoxville. My family was church musicians. So my mom played the piano at a local church, and my dad was choir director. So I grew up around music, but not really. I didn't know about jazz music at all until I was in high school, and I was introduced by a friend's father who had a nice little record collection. Then, right around that same time, we had a student teacher at the high school who was going to the University of Tennessee and was taking classes with Jerry Coker, and he wanted to start a jazz band, and so that kind of happened right around the same time that I started discovering these records, and so that was what piqued my interest and got me moving in that direction. When I graduated high school, I went ahead. Well, actually, before I graduated high school, I started going over and taking private lessons from Jerry Coker, coming to Knoxville. Knoxville had a little local jazz club at the time that had music 5 or 6 nights a week, and I started coming out and listening, and at times trying to sit in and so on. And then I came to the university in '89, as a music major and studying jazz performance with both Jerry Coker and Donald Brown. That was really the formative period for me. And then I moved to Chicago after that. And Chicago was where I really got interested in the big band. There wasn't a big band scene here. It was all small groups. So I was just interested in being a jazz trumpet player and getting to where I could play and so on. But in Chicago, there were a lot of big bands. And so I started, getting into, first of all, just wanting to play in the bands, but also, really being inspired by the people who were writing music for big band. There were a lot of guys in Chicago at that time, and I'm sure there are still, who were writing for the local big bands there, and the bands would play their charts. And so that was something that I thought, hey, maybe I could do that, So that was kind of the backstory to, you know, how I got interested in jazz and then got interested in big band specifically.
Absolutely. So in August of '99, you have a rehearsal, and of course there's no way after all this time you would have known that it would have turned into this. Did you have an intention on this becoming kind of a big deal, or was it just you were just trying to figure things out?
Yeah, the impetus for the first rehearsal was I had these charts that I was proud of, and I wanted my musician friends to hear them. You know, I mean, that was really a big part of it. I did think maybe we could make a go of this, and I would be able to have an outlet that I could continue to write for, because I really enjoyed doing that. I felt like I had ideas for more stuff that I wanted to write, and I had a sound in my head that I wanted to see if I could create. You know, the vision that I had for it was more like, you know, playing in bars, playing in clubs, you know, maybe playing like a Monday night kind of big band, not playing concerts in large concert halls and doing things with guest artists and that kind of thing. That wasn't the initial vision. But as soon as we started, we just kind of went a step at a time, but it was like with each little thing that we tried, it was clear that, oh, well, if we did this and that was successful, we might be able to try this too. And so it's kind of developed from there.
You know, the one thing I do know, as I've covered a multitude of outfits and jazz artists, is that big bands obviously propose their own kind of challenge because there's so many people, there's so much that goes in. But there has to be a level of satisfaction that's fairly deep when you successfully can do this for as long as you have, and even to do trips to Europe and to other places. What does it feel like to be able to be at the home of something so big like this?
Well, it's been really gratifying. I mean, it's been a major part of my life at this point, and it's allowed me to be active artistically on a level that, you know, I mean, it's really pretty cool. I've you know, through the big band, I've been able to meet and play concerts with all kinds of people who were my musical heroes, you know, people that I never really imagined that I would have the opportunity to play with and get to know as people, you know. And so it's really been a good thing, and it's not a thankless. I mean, there are aspects of it that are thankless, but the community really appreciates what we do, and I get a lot of positive feedback from people thanking me for what I do, and that's nice. That doesn't happen in every job, you know.
Yeah, without a doubt. People don't probably think about Knoxville as a jazz town, and they don't think about things along those lines when you hear the word. But tell me, what is so special about this band that you have? Just what, in your estimation, after all these years, why is this band so special?
It's, for one thing, it's always been kind of a little bit like a family. I mean, everybody has known, everybody in the band has had a relationship going back before the band started almost. You know, we've got some people that have joined the band, you know, that haven't been in it since the beginning. But I think it's like 12 or 13 out of the 16 or 17 regular members were there in the first year, you know. So that is a big part of it, is that we're all really good friends. Another big part of like why it's worked is that there's not, you know, Knoxville is not a vibrant enough scene that there's not a lot of competition for the musicians' time. So if they want to be involved in something that's high caliber, playing jazz music, there's not another option, so, and there's really not a lot of, it's not really possible to make a living just playing here. And so it's not like when you're in a bigger city where you've got a lot of guys that are making ends meet just by playing. It's harder for them to commit to something, because if something better comes along in terms of payment, they've just got to take it, because they've got to pay the bills every month. But we don't have that situation here, so people can be committed to it without it, taking a bite out of their livelihood, really. And so I think that's another key component, and frankly, the reason that we were able to play for so many years without anybody being paid. A number of years that the band was together, where all of the money that we made from the door, from ticket sales or whatever, just went into the band's fund to fund our next project. You couldn't have gotten away with that with the top musicians in another city, because they'd have to be, in a larger city rather, because they just have to be paid for their time. One other thing, I don't mean to drone on for too long about it, but I think one other component of it is, because people were playing for free, everybody felt a sense of ownership, and so it wasn't like they were, we got to go play for Vance again. It was, they all felt like it was their band, and they all feel like it's their band. And so that's a really important part of why it's lasted as long as it has.
So I got one more question for you here, and it's this. If you bring the Knoxville Jazz Orchestra to Kansas City, just let's just say it happens, and you need to write up a notice in one of our weeklies or put something on the web to tell people to come see the band, I want you to tell me right now, what would you say to people, even if it was here in Kansas City or it's your next performance in Knoxville? What are you going to say to someone that's trying to figure out what they're going to do and they think they want to go see jazz? How are you going to convince them that they need to come see this outfit play live?
Wow, that is a great question. And, it's one that I have not wrestled with, and I'll tell you why. Because we very rarely do that. The way that we're geared is we do all of our concerts at home, and we make all of our concerts like a one-time special event. So, we'll do a concert that's featuring the music of Bobby Watson, to speak of somebody from Kansas City, or we'll do a concert featuring vocalist Deborah Brown. And but as far as going to other cities and making a case for why they should come see the Knoxville Jazz Orchestra, to me that's a harder. I haven't figured that one out yet. Like, how do we differentiate ourselves? I mean, you have your own Kansas City Jazz Orchestra, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess I should retool it this way. People that would come through Knoxville, after they listen to this or they hear your music and they really want to see you guys, what would you say? How would you convince them that it's a really good idea to see you live?
I see. Well, I would start by saying that jazz is an art form that you have to experience live to appreciate, to really know what it is. Like, you don't know what the music is until you've seen a group of musicians do it live and have felt the interaction between the musicians. You can see how they're feeding off of one another. You can see how they're reacting to the audience, and there's like a give and take that happens in a great performance between the audience and the artist, as well as the artists within the group of artists themselves. So that's a really kind of special and magical part of just the live music experience. I guess the other thing is, because our band has been together as long as it has, we do have a certain chemistry together. Everybody loves what they're doing, and that comes through in the music. You know, there's a joyfulness about it. Our music is more sophisticated than some types of music, but it's not pretentious. To me, the kind of music that I like to present and the kind of music that I like to play is feel-good music, where, you know, you get the audience gets it. You don't need a master's degree to understand it, you know. So that's what I hope that people get out of our performances.
That's a great answer. Hey, Vance, thank you for taking a minute to talk about the Knoxville Jazz Orchestra. Good luck with everything. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, and thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Knoxville, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Vance for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit Neon Jazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.